How's it going, Guardians? Shifty here. Over the last week, I've put out 2 solo flawless runs of the Grasp of Avarice dungeon. The first was on a Titan and the second one was on a Warlock. So in today's video, I will be doing a run on a Hunter. Now, I know in a lot of other videos, people tend to go with Top Tree Night Stalker for this particular dungeon, but I wanted to change things up a little bit, so I'm going to be running a Revenant Hunter. Before I go over the details of my loadout, if you end up enjoying the video, make sure to hit that like button, and if you're new to my channel, don't forget to subscribe as well. Alright, as I already mentioned, I'm running a Revenant Hunter and I'm using the Duskfield Grenade. Then for my aspects, I have Touch of Winter, and I also have Grim Harvest. Then for my fragments, I have Whisper of Hunger, Whisper of Chains, Whisper of Shards, Whisper of Durance, and Whisper of Conduction. You can probably already tell by my background image that my exotic of choice is Assassin's Cowl. Then for my weapons, you'll probably recognize my choices from my Warlock or Titan video if you check those out. The weapons I'll be using in my kinetic slot include Witherhoard and Ignition Code. Then in my energy slot, the only weapon I'll have there is Cartesian Coordinate. And finally, for my heavy weapons, I'll be using Threaded Needle, Falling Guillotine, Gallarhorn, and Sleeper Simulant. And for my armor mods, I'll just quickly show you each piece of armor, and if you need to see anything in more detail, just pause the video. I do want to mention on my chest armor, I do have double arc damage resistance, which I use throughout most of the dungeon. However, for the Ogre boss fight, I swapped to a void chest piece with double void damage resistance. And that is it for my loadout choices in this one. I will be including commentary in this run to give you some tips along the way, as well as explain my strategy. In addition to that, there will be timestamps if you want to skip to a particular part of the dungeon. And with all of that said, let's jump right into it. Alright, so if you're already familiar with this dungeon, you know exactly what to do. This teaches you a mechanic that's used throughout the entire dungeon. Killing these hive enemies is going to make them drop fake exotic engrams. When you pick up these exotic engrams, you'll get the Burden by Riches debuff, 1 stack per every engram that you grab. Now, if you let the timer on those stacks run out, you will end up dying. However, your goal is to deposit those stacks of Burden by Riches into these rocks. You can see the one I'm standing next to here. Generally, depositing these exotic engrams into the rock is going to give you some sort of action. In this case, it's going to open up the entrance to the dungeon. So for this opening phase, I tend to kill the enemies that spawn in this cave. To get more to spawn when they're not anymore, all you have to do is head out a little ways. And now I can head deeper into the dungeon. Take out the Shrieker, then the 3 Acolytes to my left. Since I'm not going to need my super anytime soon, I'm going to chuck it at this group of enemies over there. I'm going to largely ignore them as I push forward though. And now I'm approaching the puzzle area of this particular dungeon. Now, during my first playthrough when I was running this blind, this part took me quite a while. However, once you end up learning it, it's not going to take long at all. If you are now heading into this dungeon for the first time, this shouldn't take you too long to figure out, especially with the wealth of videos that are available. All you have to do is follow the path and pull the levers that you see on screen in the video. So at this section, it's always going to be the back right tunnel that you want to head into. This pressure plate is safe. It opens up this hatch. And right here, you want to pull this lever to open up the door to the right. However, when it's open, you can immediately deactivate it and slide under the door. This is going to save you a little bit of time in this area. Pulling that lever will make a shrieker spawn in the middle of the area out here. I do want to backtrack a little bit. I'm going to go ahead and get a Witherhoard shot on the shrieker. Maybe deal with some of these thrall behind me. Just going to head off to the left here quick, because this is where our next lever is. And I have another little time-saving secret here. Instead of going in there and pulling any levers, you can typically make this jump. Witherhoard these dregs off to my left. Gonna go ahead and take out all the wizards that spawn throughout this area. So I'm gonna head off to the right here and pull a lever, and the display above it will show you where to go next if you ever get confused. I don't stick around to check it out because I already know the area. Normally that wizard comes out a lot faster than that. In this case, it took its time coming out of that doorway. Go ahead and finish this for some health and invisibility. And that last lever opened the final door, so I can head on over here and grab a Scorch Cannon from this gunner of Avarokk. This is another mechanic that's going to persist throughout the rest of the dungeon. You're going to need Scorch Cannons to shoot devices, which will then have some sort of effect. In this case, it's going to open the door in front of me. I'm going to push up the stairs a little bit to activate the trap, get in one of these little cubbies. And now I can just move on to the first boss fight. So here I am going to go to the slanted floor before I make the jump. The reason being is if you're on a flat surface and go to a slanted surface and try and jump, sometimes that can mess up your first jump and you won't make the gap. So for this first boss fight, I'm going to go ahead and swap a couple things. Kinetic weapon to ignition code, heavy weapon to sleeper simulant, and my chest armor to void damage resistance. And you can see the rock right there that we're going to be depositing exotic engrams into. To get those exotic engrams, we're going to want to take out a Scorch Cannon Vandal that's up here. Then we're going to take that Scorch Cannon and use it to open up doors on either side of the arena. There's some on the left and some on the right. Going in there, you'll find some hive enemies, which will all drop exotic engrams. Depositing enough of them into that rock in the front of the area will trigger a boss damage phase. In order to trigger a boss damage phase, you have to deposit a total of 25. So now I'm getting ready to go in this left-hand room. I have my super, so I'm going to go ahead and use it. Because once I pick up 10 of those exotic engrams, I'm going to get my super back as well as all of the rest of my abilities. And once I pick up one more, I should have it. There it is. If you learn how to effectively use that mechanic throughout this dungeon, it's extremely helpful. So as you can see, I only have 14 stacks of Burdened by Riches. That's because you can only get so many from one side. This forces you to have to go into 2 different sides in order to get enough of the exotic engrams. So I have that first set deposited. I got 14 in there, so I need 11 more to trigger the first boss damage phase. So I'm primarily using Revenant Hunter for the shurikens, the invisibility, and the health when I get melee kills and finisher kills. The super is pretty helpful during this particular fight for the adds on either side. However, it's not going to be incredibly useful for the boss. It's going to help stagger it every once in a while, and it will do a little bit of extra damage. So as you can see, I decided to go ahead and super again here because I'm going to get enough of the exotic engrams to get my super back pretty quickly. In this particular room, you always want to be careful because the boss can pretty easily shoot in here. So I have 13 stacks of Burdened by Riches. That's plenty in order to trigger the boss damage phase. I only needed 11. I'm going to go invisible there. Head on down to the rock. I'll worry about the thrall when I'm already depositing. And a boss damage phase should start. I'm going to go ahead and super it. Get particle deconstruction proc. And use Sleeper, trying to hit as many crits as I can. Now that I'm out of Sleeper ammo, I'll finish off with any Cartesian coordinate. I also ran out of that, unfortunately. As you can see, that was a pretty respectable boss damage phase. Now all we have to do to get to the next one is repeat that exact process. The only difference will be that I won't have my super for the left set of doors. I was trying to see if there's any easy way to get some ammo there real quick. Now we got a thrall spawn. I'm going to get ready to head in this left doorway again like usual. Since I didn't have my super, I decided to go ahead and use some abilities to try and clear some of the enemies out right away. Heal and go invisible quick. This will allow me to grab some of these exotic engrams, maybe do some damage to this particular knight. Again, I have 14 stacks of Burdened by Riches. Gonna go invisible on a thrall and head down for the deposit. I want to take care of any of the thrall here quick. Now if you are quick enough, you can use the same Scorch Cannon. However, in most cases I like to play it safer, so I just get a new Scorch Cannon for each side. And I will have my super for this side. And I already have enough to trigger a boss damage phase. And go invisible and head down to the rock. Again, I'm going to avoid the thrall there and just take care of them when I get down here. Super, proc particle deconstruction, and then go in with Sleeper. I am taking some damage from an Acolyte to my left, so I'm going to be careful here. I can't really do any more damage because I'm out of ammo for everything except my grenade launcher. That's fine. I should be able to do plenty of damage in that third damage phase in order to take out the Ogre. That was a bit of a close call there. I did end up getting a clutch heal in with a shuriken. I only got 12 stacks of Burdened by Riches from that side this time. That means I'm going to have to get 13 from the other side. Shouldn't be too much of a problem. Gonna head around here and grab my final stacks of Burdened by Riches. And I have 13, which is plenty. I'll just go ahead and grab that last one. See if I can get an invis off with a thrall here. That worked worked out pretty well. Like every other time, I'm going to go ahead and super. Unfortunately, it hasn't entered the actual damage phase. There it is. And sleeper time. Missed the shot there. And I almost messed this up here. Out of ammo with my last sleeper shot, and I actually took it out with that. Now I'm going to swap to Gallarhorn for the Sparrow section. That way I can head around the arena and grab any heavy ammo that I need. So my first playthrough of this, I thought that this Sparrow section was going to end up being really difficult for the solo flawless run, but once you get it down, it's actually pretty straightforward. So whenever you're ready, you activate and hop on your Sparrow immediately. I shoot off to the right here because there's a time-saving device over here. I'm going to grab that, hook around to the left a little bit. And as I approach the A mine, I'm going to kind of curve around it instead of going directly through it. This helps you avoid some of the drag shots. Heading towards B, I'm going to hug the left-hand side, grab this time-saving device, and then Gallarhorn these dregs in front of me. Pull out a new Sparrow, and grab B. Then I'm going to kind of enter this riverbed, grab this time-saving device, and stay in the river. There's going to be another unavoidable time-saving device right there. I'm going to swap to Gallarhorn for those 3 dregs up there. Immediately head for C. Head up to the ramp on the right here. Grab the time-saving device. And I like to use the top cannon here, but you can use the bottom one if you want. Because there is a time-saving device up there. I'm going to throw a grenade down on these dregs. And that was the final mine. Now we can push forward to the Fallen Shield encounter. Obviously, you've seen I swapped back to Witherhoard. I have Cartesian Coordinate, but now I'm also using the Falling Guillotine Sword. I also put on my Arc Damage Resistance chest again. So in my opinion, this particular encounter is probably the easiest, but it can be a bit tedious. Here, I'm just looking around for the Servitor. You're going to find a Shielded Servitor on one of the islands. You're going to use these cannons to launch to said islands. And you're going to use Scorch Cannons to activate the devices, which then activate the cannon that launches you. So the goal here is to find the Shielded Servitor, kill the Shielded Servitor, and then launch it into the devices that are keeping the Fallen Shield intact. And I really messed up right here. Don't launch yourself at the Fallen Shield devices. Otherwise, you're going to have to try to improvise to save yourself. And luckily, I was able to save myself. So yeah, make sure you don't make the same mistake I did, and make sure your cannon is oriented where you want it to be aimed at. Luckily I was able to save myself and get to this middle island. Now I just have to find my servitor. It's up there on the next island. So I'm going to head to the cannon here, turn it left, and launch myself up there. Once I get up there, I'll explain how you de-shield the servitors. Go ahead and charge a shot, get to the cannon, and let it go. So in order to de-shield the servitor, we have to take out a bunch of the fallen enemies up here. They'll be dropping those fake exotic engrams. And inside the building in the area, you can see the rock where we're going to go ahead and deposit. To de-shield the servitor, you have to deposit a total of 20 fake exotic engrams. So your goal here is just to survive and take out a bunch of the fallen enemies and pick up those exotic engrams and deposit them in the center. Each servitor that you launch into the fallen shield devices will take out a quarter of the fallen shield's health. So you're going to have to repeat this 4 times for 4 different islands. Now you can kind of see why it might get a little bit tedious. I should be getting close for a D-shield here. Not quite enough. Let me grab some of these fake exotic engrams here. Unfortunately, I got another enemy spawn as well, but there it is. Servitor is de-shielded. So you want to avoid picking up any extra burden by riches stacks. If you do like that, you're going to have to stick by the rock until they go away. And this isn't ideal positioning. As you can see, when the servitor is dead, you have a timer on it. This is how much time you have to get it to the launcher and launch it into the fallen shield devices. And hopefully it goes a little bit smoother and you don't get it stuck like I did. So the servitors are somewhat magnetized towards the base of the cannons. So all you have to do is push it towards the cannon and it should kind of roll right to that base. So I'm heading to my next island, just to my right here, and you can see there's another servitor. So now I just have to repeat that process. Might as well go ahead and use my super since I'll get it back anyway. And I had enough for the D-shield here. Got a Wither Horde shot on that servitor. I'm going to head up and grab a Scorch Cannon from this gunner. Servitor is down. I'm going to push it to the cannon. You also don't want to push him off the map, so you have to be careful for that. If you do, you're just going to have to do an extra island since you won't be able to shoot that one into a fallen shield device. So I turn the cannon so it's aligned with one of them, and I'm going to go ahead and fire the servitor at it. If you didn't see, I found out where that next shielded servitor was, so I'm just kind of using the cannons to traverse the area and get to the appropriate island. Again, I'll just get my super back pretty quickly after I grab 10 of the fake engrams anyway. And I just barely got another wave of enemies as I took out this servitor shield. Again, we have to push this over to the cannon. I do have a couple burdened by riches stacks, which I have to go get rid of. And it's perfectly aligned. I'm going to go ahead and launch it. And the final servitor I need was on that island over there. I'm going to head to the left one, and then I should be able to launch myself directly over to that island. So there isn't much to say here that hasn't already been said. You just want to go around and grab the fake exotic engrams and deposit them once you have 20. You don't have to get all 20 at once, of course. You just have to get 20 overall. But the process is always going to be the same. So this servitor is down and I didn't get an extra wave of enemies here. I'm pretty good at getting these things stuck right now, though. I guess I'll push it off there. And that's already aligned, so I can go ahead and fire it. And that should be the last one. Now all the cannons are automatically going to align to shoot to the center of the area on that center island. So I'm going to launch myself over there, and we're going to use that cannon right there to launch ourselves up into that gray sphere. I just have to align it. It's not quite aligned since I used it earlier for a different reason. But now I should be good to go. So I'm going to head up. And now I just have to make my way to the final boss arena. Again, I'm going to go ahead and make a gear swap here. Ignition code and Sleeper Simulant. Everything should be good. I can grab a rally banner. Before I grab the rally banner, I decided to throw my super. I'm going to get it back anyway. It might do a little bit of damage to the mini bosses that spawn here. So I'm going to go ahead and use another super here. The mini bosses come out of that doorway, and they're what I want to focus on first. There's going to be a Shank with a lot of health and a Vandal type enemy with quite a bit of health as well. Those are going to be my priority. I will also be spending some time clearing out dregs that spawn to my left or right. And I also want to take out a gunner vandal. If I do take out that Scorch Cannon Vandal and I leave the Scorch Cannon sit, another one won't spawn. So, kind of want to do that. It's almost done for. Alright, time to go for the mini bosses. And what I'm going to do, hop up here, proc particle deconstruction on the shank, which actually took quite a bit of damage from my super. I'm going to use Sleeper on it as well. Now I'm looking for the Vandal-like enemy. I'll just toss a grenade there. Since it is getting frozen, I'm going to go ahead and use my grenade launcher and not waste any fusion or linear fusion rifle ammo right now. So unlike the Shank, this enemy will drop 10 of those exotic engrams when it dies. In order to start the boss damage phase here, you have to deposit 60 of those fake engrams in the center of the arena, right next to the boss. These 10 that you get from this particular Vandal are kind of a bonus. I'll go over how you get the rest in just a moment. So I'm going to go ahead and deposit these 10 bonus ones. As you can see, before I did that, I went invisible using a shuriken on a dreg, which by the way one-shot dregs, which is pretty nice. So in order to get more of those fake exotic engrams, you're going to want a Scorch Cannon. I'm just taking a few dregs out here. I'm going to use one shot from the Scorch Cannon there. Now on the front of the arena, on this side and on the other side of the arena, you're going to find these devices like you've seen throughout the dungeon. You want to fully charge a shot up. When you do, you're going to see a ton of these exotic engrams drop around the arena. Some on the sides, some on the middle over here. You just want to go around and grab as many as you can. So unlike my Titan run where I did them in batches, I'm going to try to get all 50 that I need in one go. Now obviously I didn't get them from just that one device, but I can go ahead and charge another shot. So I went ahead and charged another shot, which is going to allow me to get more exotic engrams. Now you have to be careful with this method because if you're not comfortable with the timer on Burdened by Riches, you could end up watching it run out and end up dying. So only do that if you're comfortable with the timer there. Like I said earlier, I need a total of 60 to start a boss damage phase. I've already deposited 10 in the middle, so I need 50. I'm currently sitting at 34, so 16 more, and I'll be able to enter the first boss damage phase. Sitting at 48 right now. It's not quite good enough, and I don't think I'm going to get enough before I have to charge another shot. Nope, I got 49. I almost had enough there. Not quite, but almost. So just one more shot here. I'm going to grab a few more of these exotic engrams. So I did end up going invisible there, which is nice because it's going to take some time to deposit all 50. However, the more you have, the faster they deposit. As you can see, when I had 52, I deposited 10 at once. And then it kind of slowly goes down the more you have. So I really messed up this boss damage phase. I had some Burdened by Riches stacks left over after it started, and I tried to get rid of them a couple of times, but kind of messed it up. That's going to significantly reduce the time that I have to do damage here. So I did a decent amount of damage, but it wasn't super impressive. Making mistakes like that are the difference between a 4-phase and a 3-phase boss fight. So when the boss damage phase is over, you're going to have another Scorched Vandal that spawns, and the 2 mini-bosses will be back as well. I'm going to go ahead and try to get some damage off with my Cartesian Coordinate here. It's not the most ideal damage, especially with the range drop-off, but it does do some work. So right now I'm just heading around the arena trying to grab some ammo in order to take out the mini-bosses. You can use the Scorch Cannon on the mini-bosses, however I don't really want to waste the Scorch Cannon and have to kill another Scorched Vandal, and it does take some time. It saves you on ammo, but it takes more time. Gonna use another Dusk Field on the Vandal enemy here. Do the same thing I did last time. Alright, so I am going to use a few sleeper shots here on this Vandal mini-boss. And of course we have 10 bonus exotic engrams lying there. Use a shuriken to go invisible quick. And try to quickly deposit those 10. Now that those are deposited, I'm going to try to clear out some dregs like that, and then I'm going to go ahead and grab the Scorch Cannon. I'm going to use the same process as last time and try to get all 50 of the exotic engrams before I deposit. Make sure I'm on the right side here. You can kind of see some blue lights in the center there, if it is good to go. So as you can see, I do end up skipping some of the exotic engrams, and the reason for that is because I'd rather skip a few of them and grab another batch of 5 somewhere else before the time runs out. It takes more time to weave around and look for a lone exotic engram than it does to move on to the next batch. Like, I could have dropped off that edge and grabbed the 2 that dropped lower. However, I just wanted to get over here and get to some more. But this should be the last charge I need. I'm at 43. I need 50. This is going to put me at 48. And I should get enough down here. However, I was kind of hoping there was a drag down here so I could go invisible before I go for the deposit. So I'm going to head over here. And it looks like I can do a finisher. Perfect. Was not expecting a melee there. You want to try to use the rock to block the boss. And it does get a little iffy here, especially with a bunch of dregs. So I'm going to back away here. Use Gambler's Dodge to get a shuriken. Use that shuriken to go invisible and heal. And now I can head back and continue depositing. I want to get my Burdened by Riches stacks going quick. Again, this may not end up being very good, and I have the Scorch Cannon Vandal here. And I almost got killed by the boss there. That was not an ideal situation, and this is also a terrible boss damage phase. This boss is typically a pretty easy 3-phase on any class. I'm definitely going to be making it a 4-phase here. As you can see, I barely got it over half. So unfortunately, I'm going to have to repeat this entire process 2 more times, take out the mini bosses, go ahead and grab more exotic engrams, deposit them, and enter the boss damage phase. And now I need ammo. We'll see if I get the beautiful Destiny auto ammo pickup mechanic here. And I actually picked up a special brick there, but then the mechanic actually activated and gave me a bunch of heavy and other special ammo. If you rewind a little bit, you can see that happened. You can just see me get a whole bunch of ammo all at once. Since I am maxed on heavy, I'm going to go ahead and waste some on this Vandal mini boss. See if I can find some enemies to go invisible on quick before those disappear. And I don't think I'll be able to, so I'm just going to head to the middle of the arena and risk it a little bit. Since I did have resist from Protective Light, I decided to stay there and risk it even more. And it turns out it paid off. Either way, I have my Scorch Cannon, so we can head to either side and try to get some exotic engrams here. Here comes the first batch of exotic engrams. Another close call, but I have resist from Protective Light. So I did use a few Scorch Cannon shots to take out enemies, which is a little bit risky given the method I'm using. If I run out of Scorch Cannon shots, I have to find another Scorch Cannon Vandal. So I got half of them deposited there before my invisibility was up. But we should be in our next boss damage phase. I'm out of stacks of Burden by Riches. I got my particle deconstruction on the boss. And that was a much better start to a boss damage phase. I am out of Sleeper Simulant, so I'm going to go ahead and use Cartesian Coordinate here, which is going to do some solid damage anyway. And as you can see by the health now, compared to what it was before that boss damage phase, that was significantly better than the first 2 damage phases that I did. I'm going to scour the area for some ammo. There's a little bit of heavy. Proc particle deconstruction and sleeper. Alright, now I want to try to finish off this Vandal mini-boss. I have 1 sleeper shot, and there was the Destiny Auto ammo pickup. As usual, it went ahead and dropped me 10 of those fake exotic engrams. I'm going to go invisible. I believe I have dregs all around the arena. I got a lucky shuriken off there. I want to take out some of this dreg spawn. Might as well go ahead and throw my super since I have to grab more of the exotic engrams anyway. I could have been doing that the entire boss fight, but the super Silence and Squall doesn't work too great around this arena. Plus, I actually like to have some dregs up so I can use my shurikens for invisibility and healing. Alright, I have 10. Went invisible with a shuriken. Didn't quite get that one, but I'm going to go ahead and grab my Scorch Cannon again so I can prepare another charged shot. Might as well go invisible there. I was running out of time there on my Burden by Riches, but I was able to grab one of the exotic engrams in time. Another Shuriken invisibility coming in clutch. Looks like I'll have to do one more batch of exotic engrams here. I dropped the Scorch Cannon there because I'm pretty confident I'll have enough. I'm going to head over here, see if I can go invisible. There's invisibility for me. Try to get invisibility again. And that worked out pretty well. Kind of screening the boss with the rock here. And the boss should be entering damage phase. Gonna hop up here. Silence and Squall. Proc Particle Deconstruction. And Sleeper. And there it is. The boss is down. And that's a solo flawless run of the Grasp of Avarice dungeon on a hunter using a Revenant Hunter. I hope that you enjoyed this video, and if you did, remember to like and subscribe. I just want to thank you for watching, and I'll catch you on the next one.